We people are driven by fears more. Oh God! We act upon surviving than thriving. Personally, I am all about truth, and that includes knowing whether you are being manipulated or not. And to do that, to become aware about others' foul tactics and hidden agendas, you yourself have to learn to manipulate, to learn mechanisms, small nuances that trigger people's compliance. And make no mistake, there have to be two people willing to participate in a manipulation, subconsciously of course, and the only thing that dissolves the mystery of manipulation is the awareness itself. So let's see what we can learn from this video.
If I would tell you right now that you're actually being manipulated almost every single day, you would think that I'm dumb, because there is no way a smart, intelligent person like you is manipulated without realizing that.
Just want to chime in that everyone is being manipulated in one way or another, not all the time. But your conditioning basically comes from your childhood. And if people would know the kind of trauma they have persevered in younger days, there wouldn't be any mental sicknesses.
I'm not here undermining anyone's intelligence, but that's the point of manipulation. The moment you realize you're manipulated, it's no longer a manipulation. The problem is that the foundation of media is based on manipulation, and since we're living in this advanced world of technology and social media, we're all victims one way or another.
Just understand that in today's day and age, the manipulation happens in big masses. Because of the immense growth of the world's population, we have to invent new tricks, study human psychology in depth so we can make the manipulation as effective as possible. We no longer live in small communities. We live in a global world, and the power comes from the amount of people that are following your agenda. So to amass as much power as possible, you have to be very cunning and precise with your methods of manipulation. There's no room for mistakes.
Let me just explain. Whenever you watch the news or come across headlines when you're scrolling through your news feed, the news is always negative and dramatic, as if we are living in the worst period of human history. The economy is about to collapse, the immigrants are about to take our jobs, or the neighboring country is about to attack us. And that really gives you the impression that the world is heading in the wrong direction.
And that's basically the gist of marketing. And news aren't separated from marketing, because news is about clicks today. It's not about informing population. It's about getting the views, getting the clicks, and making the buck. There's so much competition in the world today that if you take your time, make a thorough research, you will miss out on a great opportunity to make a living. Because if you don't push the publish button now, there are hundreds and hundreds of others from your competition waiting to do the same. There's no time for accuracy. There's only time for action.
It's just money. It's made up. Pieces of paper with pictures on it so we don't have to kill each other just to get something to eat.
Same goes for this wonderful platform, YouTube. People who are cultivating and growing channels about negativity, drama, and other emotionally triggering content get a lot of clicks, a lot of views, and make a good living. There was a comment actually on one of my videos suggesting that I would try to convey positivity in my titles. Maybe that would get a lot more clicks. But the truth of the matter is that we people are driven by fears more. Oh God! We act upon surviving than thriving. We human beings do a lot more to alleviate pain than work on ourselves so that we proactively can avoid that pain altogether. The path of least resistance becomes paradoxical because we end up suffering more when we feel the pain than the amount of work that we have to do in order to avoid it.
But the truth is that the world has never been better or safer as it's today. In the last 100 years, humanity has progressed so much that billions of people have been lifted out of poverty, life expectancy has grown all around the world, and violence has been reduced significantly. In fact, this is how fast the economy has been growing. Most of the growth has happened in the last few decades.
Truth be told, no matter how good we have it, we will always strive for betterment, and that betterment can imply different things for different people. I don't have food, I get a job. I don't have a house, I buy one. I don't have a car, I make sure to negotiate to increase my salary so I can go and lease one. This kind of a greed is our human nature, and that won't ever stop. Although what you can do is to understand that, become aware of it, and make sure that greed works for your favor. Never forget to share with others.
Over half of the world's population has been living in extreme poverty 60 years ago, for example, and now that number is below 10%. Incredible, right? But that's not the impression you're given when you watch the news. The problem is that in the 19th century, people in advertising and journalism realized that if they framed their stories and appealed with fear, they could grab much more attention.
Fear is a very powerful tool for controlling big masses. And not just masses, any person that you encounter. Because in order to overcome fear, you have to put a lot of work into improving yourself. And as we know, personal development is not on people's agendas. The consequence of which becomes that we are driven by our emotions in much higher grade than our rationale and logic. So this fear-mongering is a very effective tactic to ensure that your followers will keep coming back and seek for your guidance. They will never cut off the hand that feeds them, and the food is fear. That fear makes humans to feel alive.
Because the emotion of fear is so powerful that we find it difficult to control. So they started shifting our attention from the latest crime, financial crisis, to the next scandal. Open any news website now and you will find that 90% of their headlines are targeted on your emotion of fear. For example, these experts have been claiming that dollar is going to collapse in the next few years.
And as I said, those kind of tactics are most often than not directed towards big masses. People who don't have their shit together in any way and are very susceptible to external feedback. It's easy to manipulate a spiritually confused person than to gain power over someone who put a lot of work to understand himself and to understand the gist of life. Fear can be your biggest motivator if you befriend it. But unfortunately, that's not the case for the majority of people. Most of us kneel in the face of fear.
Or the financial crisis that will happen next year is completely going to destroy US economy. But that next year never seemed to happen. Of course, these experts have a point to a certain extent, but the way it's framed is absolutely misleading just to grab your attention.
The wording is very crucial here. Just remember those moments when you were sending a text message to your friend or your partner, and just because you didn't have any smiley face in that message, your partner or your friend misinterpreted your intentions. Maybe they thought you were angry or you had some stiff tonality in your text, but in actuality you just were in a hurry and just sent a new text without even thinking about conveying any kind of emotions. When a master manipulator don't communicate face to face, there's a plenty of room for plausible deniability, sending mixed signals that can be interpreted in several different ways.
Or let's take an example of Trump. Whether you like him or not, he constantly uses this strategy to grab the attention of the public. After all, he has been on television for decades, and that's how he got famous in the first place. The only thing that we all remember from his presidential campaign is that he wanted to build a wall to stop all of the immigrants from taking over our jobs, which never happened. I mean, what is the wall?
The thing with Trump is that he understood what people wanted to hear, not what they needed to hear. He utilized modern day technology in order to gain recognition even larger than he had before, and fill the void for those who have been feeling neglected for a long time.
In fact, he constantly talks about how the entire world wants to rip off the United States and take advantage of it, especially this particular country.
Create a problem that doesn't exist, offer your services to solve that problem, sign the contract, get the job, profit. Voila!
Don't get me wrong, I'm not here trying to put him down if you're a Trump supporter. That's how the media and politics have been always working. The point of this video is to tell you that don't be driven by fear, because there will always be someone who will take advantage of it and you will always be misled.
And that's the point when we have to understand the importance of taking accountability for our personal development, for understanding our own ambitions, dreams, wishes, so that we can build ourselves and create a certain type of lifestyle that we always dreamt about, so we stop being dependent on others' promises. The dynamic between the power and the feared ones is that the power has a lot more abundance, and the feared ones are always looking for the power to get their needs met. It becomes a codependent relationship, and to escape such, you have to become a self-sufficient unit. Learn to manipulate so you avoid it yourself. Hossein, out.